Our recipe this week is a nut loaf, which is a perfect main course for a vegetarian. You should have all your ingredients prepared already. The first thing to do is to spread most of the nuts out on a baking sheet, but reserve a couple tablespoons for going on the top afterwards and put them in the oven. Then you need to melt the butter in a frying pan. Heat it until it's all melted, and then add the chopped onion to the pan. Now you need to cook that over a low heat for about 5 minutes. Stir it occasionally to make sure that it doesn't burn and stick on the bottom of the pan. Don't forget the nuts in the oven. Check them regularly to make sure that they don't burn. You want them to be a light golden colour all over. So when you check them, you can actually use a spoon to stir them, to turn them over so that they will colour evenly. Then return them back to the oven and cook for another couple of minutes. Once the onions have softened, you can then add to the pan the carrot, celery and chopped chilli. And cook over a medium heat for 5 to 7 minutes, stirring occasionally until the vegetables have all softened but that they haven't coloured too much. Keep stirring the vegetables regularly, but don't forget the nuts in the oven. Check on the nuts and make sure that they haven't burnt. Mix the nuts with a spoon to make sure that they're colouring evenly, and then when they're well mixed, put the tray back into the oven and cook for a couple of minutes longer. You want them to be a nice even golden colour, and you should be able to start smelling them as well when they're ready. Keep a close eye on the vegetables in the pan. They should be softening nicely without colouring too much. Check on the nuts again to see how they're doing, and they should be almost done. So in total they should have taken almost 10 minutes to cook, and they should be a nice golden colour.
Okay.
Just give them a quick stir to make sure that they're an even colour all over. Then tip the nuts into a large mixing bowl, and you want to then add most of the other ingredients. So it's the nuts into the mixing bowl first, and then to that you're going to add the vegetable mixture, and make sure you turn the hob off when you do that. Next you want to add most of the cheese. Just keep back a little bit of the cheese for sprinkling on the top of the loaf before it goes in the oven. Then the fresh white breadcrumbs, the lemon zest, the herbs, so the freshly chopped parsley and the freshly chopped thyme, and give that a good mix all together. Mixing it together will cool it down slightly before you then add the eggs, because if you add the eggs and the mixture is too hot, what happens is the eggs will get cooked by the heat from the mixture, and you'll end up with like scrambled eggs in the mixture. So when it's cooled slightly, add the eggs, and you can add some seasoning, a mixture of freshly ground black pepper and salt. Mix it up really well until it's evenly mixed. Then, once it's evenly mixed, you need to put it into the lined cake tin. This is a loaf tin which has been well buttered, and then to help make sure that it doesn't stick, it has a strip of baking parchment as well. So spoon all the mixture into that prepared tin. If you don't have a loaf tin, any sort of oven-proof dish of a similar size will do. Make sure you get all of it into the tin. And don't press it down too firmly. Leave it a little rough on the top so it has some texture to it. But spread it out so that it's an even sort of thickness. And then, before it goes in the oven, you need to sprinkle over the reserved nuts. So scatter them evenly over the top. And then scatter over the top the reserved cheddar cheese. When you finish scattering the cheese on the top, it can go into the oven for 35 to 45 minutes. So the timer is going to be going off soon, so I've got a board ready to put it on, so when I take it out of the oven it's not going to damage your work surface. So that's the timer. Let's check it first of all before I turn the oven off. Yep, that's looking nice and golden on the top. So I'm going to put that on the board and remember to turn the oven off. Now, to make it easier to get out of the tin, I'm just going to leave it for about 5 minutes. It won't go cold, but it will just help it to go a little bit more solid and make it easier to take out of the tin. So I've let it cool now for about 5 minutes. It's actually just about cool enough that I can handle it. I'm going to get hold of the baking parchment and lift it out. So then I can use a knife with a long serrated blade to cut it. But actually a little bit has come off at the end there. I'm going to pull out the baking parchment so I don't get that cut with it. And you can either cut it into thick slices. This I would normally serve 4 people, or when it's cooler you can cut it into thin slices. So I'm going to cut a slice just so then you can see the texture of the inside of it. So the carrot gives it some colour as well as giving it some vitamins. So that's my finished nut loaf, ready to serve either hot with gravy or to wait until it's cold and serve it sliced with a salad.